Thank you for joining us here at 10. Today, the state Supreme Court ruled that a quorum in the Minnesota House is 68 members. That means when Republicans return to the House chambers on Monday, they will still be one short and cannot conduct any business. Denying quorum is the reason Democrats gave for boycotting the session for the last 2 weeks. Ian Russell's here tonight with reaction from both sides and a better look at when some work can finally start to get done. Ian?
Yeah, Rena, political experts I spoke with today told me the best way to sum up the past 2 weeks in the Minnesota House is that they basically didn't happen. House Democrats say they're reaching out to Republicans to work on a potential power sharing agreement as those Republicans call for the DFL boycott of the session to come to an end. The return of House Democrats to the Minnesota State Capitol could be on the horizon after the state Supreme Court ruled on what is and isn't a quorum Friday afternoon. The court saying in a 3-page report that 68 members are needed for a quorum, one more than House Republicans currently have, saying in the ruling that, quote, "We assume parties will now conform to this order."
The court has made clear that the GOP's actions of the last 2 weeks have been illegitimate.
For the past 2 weeks, Republicans have been conducting business as their DFL counterparts boycotted the session, even electing Representative Lisa Demuth as Speaker. On the first day of the session, Republicans attempted to override Secretary of State Steve Simon.
Mr. Secretary, I move to appeal the ruling of no quorum.
Arguing that a vacant seat in Roseville changed what was needed for a quorum. Their work since then, now null and void.
The Democrats have been focusing on work in our districts because Republicans refuse to engage into negotiations with us relating to power sharing.
In a statement, Demuth said House Democrats are disrespecting the entire state of Minnesota by not showing up and called for House Democrats to come back. House DFL leader Melissa Hortman said this afternoon that Democrats were reaching out to Republicans, hoping to get an agreement on power sharing so they can all be there come Monday. One political expert saying he believes members of the DFL will be back in session on Monday.
I think it's going to be acrimonious. I think it's going to have plenty of meltdowns. And even now, I think the idea of a special session in June is not out of the question.
Political scientist Larry Jacobs says part of that negotiation will be overseating Brad Tabke after a judge ruled that he would keep his seat in a tight and contested race.
It's not simply a kind of power play. It is the judgment of a judge.
Now a waiting game to see what happens this weekend and if this room will be full on Monday.
Can something go awry and it doesn't happen on Monday? Of course, this is politics. But I don't think the Democrats or Republicans gain from dragging this out.
Of course, both sides are still waiting to see who will fill the vacated seat left by Democrat Curtis Johnson after it's found that he didn't meet residency requirements there in Roseville. And that Roseville area seat will have an election to fill that seat, with that likely happening in early March. Before that happens, though, Governor Tim Walz will need to issue a writ calling for that election, and that can't happen until 22 days after the start of session. Rena?
Hard to believe we're still in this right now like this. All right, thank you, Ian.